Hello everyone and welcome back to Covert Connections. Today we'll be looking at a compilation of weird and creepy TikToks. And if you do like the video, please leave a like down below, comment, and subscribe. Alright, let's get into it.
Surfacing a bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal.
Do you really know the truth about Mels Hole? Nestled on Melwater's land in Manastash Ridge, west of Ellensburg, Washington, this abyss swallowed endless amounts of refuse, from household garbage to broken appliances, without showing any signs of filling. More than a simple pit, its mysteries deepened with animals avoiding it and unexplained radio signals emanating from its depths. In 2017, a bold team dropped a camera into its enigmatic void, and the revelations shocked the world. Their discovery prompted an immediate retreat, highlighting the peril within. Join us as we reveal the incredible story of Mels Hole. On Manastash Ridge, west of Ellensburg, Washington, Mel Waters discovered something that would pique the interest of everyone who would hear about it. On Mel's property was a large hole, seemingly a well. But don't be mistaken, because this is not a well. For a very long time, it served as a trash dump for Mel and other property owners. They would dump anything in here, ranging from regular household garbage to broken appliances and old tires. Anything that needed to be dumped was going in here, but, oddly enough, the hole never really filled up. This naturally raised Mel's curiosity, because given all the garbage that had been dumped in there, it would have been filled or close to filled. But that's not all. Some odd things started happening around the hole, and even his dog started avoiding this area. Whenever he was close by with a radio, the signals would be all over the place. But the craziest thing about this hole is that there is no apparent bottom. But what was it about this hole that was so fascinating? Over the years, you may have heard a few stories or theories circulating about Mels Hole. Fast forward to around 2017, and a group of researchers managed to find the infamous hole and even go ahead and explore it. However, when they lowered the camera down the hole, they found something that would completely shake them up. In fact, it was so terrifying that the only option they had was to flee, because at this point, their lives were at stake. But before we can find out what was so terrifying about the whole thing, let's look at the facts. To better understand the revelations, we need to understand some more context about Mels Hole. Mels Hole is a circular pit that has a diameter measuring 9 feet 9 inches. It is surrounded by a stone retaining wall, which goes down for about 15 feet. That is the part that is seen, because after 15 feet, it is nothing but darkness. By the time Mel and his wife started depositing items and dumping them in the mysterious hole, they were not the first ones to do so. His neighbors actually had the habit of depositing all their trash there. Whenever Mel inquired from his neighbors about the hole, they all claimed it had been there since they arrived. However, they were all worried about the hole because, as much as they were depositing most of their dump there, the sound of objects dropping into it was not present. There were no echoes of a thud, as you would expect after dumping something in a hole. This only meant that there was no indication of a bottom. Catching the attention of Mel Waters, he became even more curious about the hole. And with that, he also became more determined to uncover the mystery of the hole. The first thing he would do is find out if it had a bottom. However, at this point, the only question that is going around is, how deep did it really go? Better yet, what was in the hole that shocked the entire world? Keep watching to find out. Since Mel was a very enthusiastic fisherman, he had lots of spools of fishing line. So, to find the bottom of the hole, he would start by lowering something. He attached a weight of 1 pound to the line and started lowering it. Let's just say that he was surprised as the line went further. In the end, the line descended for an insane 4,500 feet, which is the full length of the reel. Even more shocking was the fact that it never seemed to hit the bottom. Even though this was a setback, Mel reeled the weight up, and when it finally got to the surface, it was completely dry, which means it never touched any water. Mel never gave up and decided to replace the weight with a roll of lifesavers on his second try. This time, he was sending it down, hoping to discover some water at the depths. But when he reeled up the lifesavers after reaching maximum length again, they were very dry. Mel had to go back to the drawing board and figure out.
I was obsessed with UFOs.
So if you don't know Mels Hole, basically it was on this guy's property and he was throwing a bunch of stuff in it, like the waste and stuff like that. And then eventually what happened was, to today, was the military came, basically closed it off, and you can't go and see it anymore. You can't throw things in it. You can't do nothing. They completely guarded it and surrounded it. You can't even go there anymore. So why would they do that? I don't know, but that's interesting.
I was dying to find out the information. The internet was a real enabler for finding out information by going to places you shouldn't be in because they were so open. There were a lot of text files that had lists of places, installations, military bases, Air Force bases, Navy sites, NASA sites. So there was a lot to go through. But I did find a goldmine of information.
According to McKinnon, he unearthed a secret U.S. military program that existed entirely in space.
I found the spreadsheet was actually titled in the column non-terrestrial officers. As well as officers' names, it had ship names. None of these were ocean-going ships. It was astounding. They're not Navy, they're not an Army, and not even Air Force. So to me, I was thinking there must be an off-planet Space Force, or Space Fleet, at least.
So if you don't know who Gary McKinnon is, he was the guy who hacked NASA, and then I believe eventually got arrested by either the CIA, FBI, one of those organizations, or so that they say. But he apparently was looking for extraterrestrial evidence or anything like that, and apparently he found it. I believe leaked it as well, so very interesting stuff that guy found.
Load of this. Just a joke.
After all these years, I've never met the Olsen twins. He introduced me to them. I said to him, how do I tell them apart? He says, Ashley Swallows.
How is this funny?
Is it true that you used to give Mary Kate acting lessons? You tell her, act like this never happened.
Bob Saget, who the girl in
What kind of joke is
1990?
that? And it's crazy, because it seems to be the theme with all these young stars.
I may end up running off with you myself, you know.
That's what Steven says.
Steven? It's Steven Spielberg?
Yeah. Hi, Steven, I love you.
Second best again. Story of my life with women, yeah.
She even talks about being at those Hollywood parties.
Well, I've grown up very fast, and it's not very normal to see a 9-year-old at a big Hollywood party drinking.
You heard that right. At 9 years old, she was at Hollywood parties getting drunk. And it's crazy how it's such a common theme for these childhood stars to get institutionalized for acting out.
Coffee mate. So I take a scoop, because I'm trying to fill this smaller empty container that I have, and I look at the edges, you know, when there's a magnet, and then I put them near the onion, they're jumping off onto the onion. I'm not moving it. Oh, touched it. What the fuck? See? See?
Yeah, it's like literally attracted to the onion and is jumping over there. So if anyone knows why it was doing that, please let me know down below. If you use Coffee Mate, please let us all know down below if you understand why that's happening.
We're ready to start cutting this highlight opal. This material is radioactive. Either in the machine, so we're going to take some extra precautions during cutting and wear a mask. And the other thing we're going to do is run a lot more water than I normally would. And this should prevent any dust getting into the air. really attracted me about this material, yes, it's fluorescent and it's beautiful fluorescence, but the really unique character of this fluorescent gem is that even in daylight, it fluoresces just with sunlight. It finished out at a 7-carat 27, and it's kind of apropos that the ideal shape for greatest yield ended up being a Superman shield shape. It is radioactive, and it also has the green glow of kryptonite.
And you look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light.
You know what this clip right here, what I think it looks like is, because I've seen a lot of videos of people with telescopes and stuff. One in particular video where the guy zooms in, and it looks like it's in water, right? People are talking about the firmament, and there's like water above. Well, this is gonna change your perspective. This is crazy. Watch this.
Which could be seen with the unaided eye.
Look at that. Doesn't that look like a star?
Like a star in the heavens.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid. This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star.
Crazy.
Peter, you've witnessed children being sacrificed at the Grove?
You know, I did. And I've made this very public. It's revolving around the case of the missing child case of Kevin Collins. And if anybody looks it up on the internet, they still say that it's an unsolved case. I've been to law enforcement in San Francisco. I made a mention of this for the first time back in 2003 while I was still in jail for another issue. And I thought I would be on death row. I myself, Peter Alexander Cherneff, am one of 3 people that have witnessed ritualistic murders of children during the 80s up here, during the 80s. The other one is David Schurter, and the third person is Paul Bonacci.
I'm calling for a dig. I'm calling for the cadaver dogs to come in and the equipment that can identify bodies that have been buried underneath the ground there. Are you in favor of that?
I would be, and it would be an interesting thing to see what happens. I can tell you from past experience and what I know from other sources, also firsthand, is they go way out of their way to dispose of bodies. And but I would definitely support that. You know, I watched a couple days ago, just to check on things, I watched a little video talking about the cremation of care, and they were making light of this. Well, the cremation of care, what it is, really, it's a discussion regarding population control. They're making decisions as to what group of millions of people they're going to genocide next. And we all have seen the genocides over the last 10, 15 years for anybody that's paying even a modicum of attention. I am one of 3 people that has publicly acknowledged being involved in ritualistic murder of children up in Bohemian Grove.
So in one of my last videos, I covered something disturbing that relates to that. Is they found a container, like a shipping container, full of unalived babies, basically, like thousands of them. And now this is coming out, and this has been coming out for a while. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about Bohemian Grove and the sacrifices that they're making.
I don't even need to show you screenshots or photos. I have it. I've kept this thing this whole time for this. As you can see, super nice and extravagant, just like I said. Here, let me take this thing out for you. You're invited. And here's the letter. Time, place, I'm blocking out the numbers because the house has been sold.
Some backstory to this right here is when I was scrolling through TikTok, I found this gentleman, and basically in his previous video he said, yeah, I was, an upcoming influencer with all of his buddies, and he was getting big, and people were attending this party, and he wanted to go to this party. So some guy approached him. He had no idea who he was, and he's like, expect an invitation. We like what you do, and this is the invitation that he got.
A bunch of times, so I'm not trying to harass a random family. But here's the letter. Place, date, time, and then it says sincerely, and then it has like these holes punched, and then like this thing attached to it. It's bizarre. How's that?
Prove Elvis was a reptilian.
Everything seems pretty normal up until this point. You'll see some pictures here in a moment, but then about here, things get a little strange. So now we're going to go through a series of pictures where you see the little girl have a range of emotions, and then right about here she sees something wrong as he pulls away.
Scared.
What does she see? Well, we're all about to see it for ourselves as he stands up and looks at the camera right here.
He looks very...
So, you could see kind of like his eye here looks like it's bulging out. And I'm trying to stare at other things that are going on in this video.
So now the guy holding the microphone misses this part, but here very soon he's going to notice something that is amiss. I think that'll be right about here.
Yeah, look.
And he looks a little... I think that'll be right about here. And he looks a little disturbed. After seeing this, he quickly walks away, and then acts like nothing ever happened.
See, like, this... You see this guy's face? Kind of looks odd as well to me. But this could just be the cameras from back then. Like, look, there's something there, and you see stuff here. I mean, they're kind of like just focusing on Elvis, but you could see all sorts of stuff kind of going on in this scene.
Look at his face. Yikes.
Elvis was not
human.
human.
Men seeing everything as it happens. One of them steps in front of the camera. The other man goes directly for the eye that was just melting. Here we go again, in real time.
Watch this.
See Elvis's guy step in front of the camera right here? Then the other guy goes right for the eye.
I have this crazy story.
Let me know what you guys think down below, because I thought that was weird that the guy stepped in right after that to kind of like block the camera and then take care of whatever was happening.
About a Japanese game show called Do Not Proceed Crazy Youth. It's insane. It's so crazy.
Okay.
This guy volunteered to be part of this game show. Didn't know what he was going to do, what it was going to take to win or whatever.
What a cool opportunity to be on a TV show.
He was kidnapped, blindfolded, and then taken to an empty apartment and told to strip naked immediately. What? They took his clothes. The apartment was completely empty, except it had a functioning toilet and this giant rack of magazines. And for him to win, he had to play all the sweepstakes in the magazines to collect $1 million worth of prizes. And for his food, he would have to win sweepstakes to win food, so they would deliver food to this apartment. But it took just over a year. No contact with the outside world.
Over a year for this game show?
Yes. 24/7 live stream. There was millions of people watching him go crazy. And he's butt naked, too. Finally got to the
Why
million,
naked?
right? This show was such a hit. Took him to another empty apartment. He was so good at the game now.
Yeah.
He did it in like a couple weeks. And the producer's like, oh no, this is too early. They said, no, it actually has to be a first class ticket. And he did it in a couple weeks. At this point, dude, he's like skinny. His hair's wild. His eyes are just like insane. Take him again. He was so used to this life that he they immediately got naked and like sat down on the floor, and then the walls dropped and he was on set of the game show, and everyone's like, you won, and he's freaking out. He's naked and he's freaking out, and he's like, ah. He had no idea millions of people were watching him. And then he talked about, they did an interview with him like years and years later, and he says basically the amount of psychological damage that is done to me is irreversible.
Just imagine that though, right? You're playing a game show and you're naked, and then these guys just drop the walls. That's like my worst nightmare. He's probably like, whoa, what the f is going on? Like, everyone's seeing him. And it took over a year. If anyone knows about this show, right, have seen it before, comment down below, please.
Check this out, you guys. Have you guys ever seen this? This lady says it happened to her car after it started raining. Now you can clearly see what appears to be patches of tar, but upon further examination, they smelled it and it smells like rubber. But when you look closer, you guys, they are bugs. Have you guys ever seen this? Check it out.
So Jeff comes in and gets me, and he's like, Jamie,
And look at this black stuff in the driveway beside your tire. And I was like, is something leaking? Is it asphalt? And he sticks his hand down. It smells like rubber. And he sticks his hand down. And it's bugs. That is all tiny little bugs, and they're moving.
Look at that, y'all.
All of that is like millions and millions. And it's just on these two tires and different specs in the driveway.
What are those little bugs, y'all? Have you guys ever seen that?
I've never seen anything like this before.
Me neither. And why are they on the tires? Why are they on the tires? And why so many of them? They're like millions and millions, y'all. And they're on the tires? Does anybody know what those are? And what do they do? What are their special abilities? Because I've never heard of those things before. Now again, we are entering a new age where we're seeing new animals and new creatures coming into being. Could this be one of those as well? But it's interesting, they came after the rain and they are dark like the tires. Like you can't even tell. Can those be special nanotechnology, y'all? What do y'all think? But let me know what you guys think about this video. This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. I am only raising awareness to interesting situations during this interesting time.
So those apparently, from what people are saying, and I looked it up too, apparently those are snow fleas. But why so many of them? And like they're all around the tire. Like why are there so many of them? If you guys know about these snow fleas, let me know, because this is the first time I'm hearing about them. That's crazy though, and they're like really tiny. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I do appreciate it. If you did like the video, leave a comment down below, press that like button, and subscribe if you can. Thank you guys so much. Have a terrific day. Take care all.